Hello, fourth grade artists. Today we're starting a new project. We're going to be creating these not necessarily blue dogs is what I call them, because we're going to be talking about an artist named George Rodrigue who painted a dog that he called Blue Dog. And so before you begin this, teachers, look in your lesson plans and go to YouTube and search for George Rodrigue and Blue Dog, the Magnificent Paintbrush. And I have in my lesson plans, you just need to watch the first 3 minutes, 7 seconds, because then it goes into another art lesson. But just watch that. It'll give the students a little more background on George Rodrigue and his blue dog. But this is a picture of George Rodrigue in front of one of his blue dogs. And George Rodrigue was born March 13th, 1944. He died December 14th, 2013, so he's not alive anymore. But he was an American artist who in the late 1960s began painting Louisiana landscapes, followed soon after by outdoor family gatherings in southwest Louisiana, 19th century and early 20th century genre scenes. So at first he liked to paint landscapes and outdoor scenes. His paintings often included moss-clad oak trees, which are common to an area of Louisiana known as Acadiana. In the mid-1990s, Rodrigue's blue dog paintings, based on a Cajun legend called Loup-Garou, catapulted him to worldwide fame. So you saw the video, and as you know, he started painting Blue Dog. Let me show you this map first. So Louisiana is the state right next to us. We live here in Mississippi, and George Rodrigue was from Louisiana, and he was from like the swampy area. And he started painting his blue dogs. This is one of his blue dog paintings. He has so many blue dog paintings in just all these different settings. So teachers, you could even look up some more examples of blue dogs so the students can see. But in every picture, you see this blue dog, and he might have different backgrounds, but he always pretty much looks the same. Some pictures you see him just the very top part of him. In some pictures you see the whole entire blue dog. He's usually always blue, and he's got these yellow eyes. But we're going to be painting a blue dog. We're going to be painting a dog that's not necessarily blue. So I'm going to let you be a little creative with that. All right, so to begin with, you're going to need to make some painted paper for your background. So I'm not going to show this process. We've done this before in some other classes, but you're going to need to start with a piece of 11 by 14 watercolor paper. I've pre-cut it, and we're just going to paint our background with yellow and red and kind of get this warm color going. Now, I would be open, teachers, if you wanted to let the students use some different colors other than yellow and red, because I do love these to look different and not all look exactly the same. So if you do choose to do that, make sure you're choosing two colors that are going to mix well together. So like two cool colors, two different warm colors. Don't get too many involved. It'll get too crazy. But to begin with, you're just going to take your plain sheet of watercolor paper. I want you to spray the front and the back. This says yellow, but this is just water. I just have that tag on it. But this is just water. A spray bottle, front and back. It'll help your paper to keep from curling up, and it'll help the watercolor flow. And then let the students use a somewhat larger brush. Put your watercolors in a little cup so that they can get the bigger brush in there easily and just paint. Let it dry. Make sure they have their name label or their name written on the back at this point. Once those are dry, you're going to start adding some interest with some different stencils and materials that we can stamp on there for this beautiful background. So you're going to need to have a center set up, and in your lesson plans, I included a blue dog coloring page, so you can have some of your class working on that while you pull students to make their page with a stamp or stencil. You could also have a movie playing, age-appropriate, child-appropriate movie. So that's up to you how you want to do that. But this will work best if you're in centers. So I'm going to start by using some stencils, and you've been provided some stencils, and I'm going to show you how to use them. So this is a stencil that has some little stars on it, and you're going to need some paint. Let me run and get a paper plate, because I forgot to, actually I'm just going to use this piece of cardboard, but you'll have some paper plates. And I'm going to put some of my fluorescent tempera paint on it. I like that because it's really going to pop. And I'm going to use blue and green, but you could use different colors. If your students did a cool background, you may want to use warm colors. So I'm going to use blue and green. I'm going to put some on my palette over here. And then I'll show you how to use these stencils. Okay, so I'm going to start by doing my stencil. I'm just going to pick a place to put it. Now you'll kind of need to think about where your blue dog is going to be collaged on there. We're going to draw him on a different sheet of paper and glue him on here. So he's going to take up a big part of your space. So he's probably going to be a good bit in the center. So I wouldn't necessarily put all my stencils and stuff in the center. Maybe come over to the side some. And you will have, let me dry mine off. I had it sitting in some water, and it needs to be pretty dry. You don't want a wet brush for this. This is a stencil brush. I'm going to show you what it looks like. It looks like this, and it's flat on the ends because we don't paint stencils like we do brush strokes. We do this blotting motion. It's got this good flat end for that. So dry brush. You see I've got my blue paint. I'm going to get some blue paint on it. I'm going to blot some of it off so it's not too thick. And then I'm just going to start blotting. And you can go over the edge some. It's okay. You don't have to do the whole stencil either. When the paint starts to get thin, come over, dip it again, blot some off, and then keep doing this. And you don't have to do the whole entire square. We're just adding a little interest to our background by doing this. We're not doing the whole thing. So I'm just going to do a little bit more to show you. When you get as much done as you like, you have to be really careful to not slide this around. You're going to lift the stencil straight up and you'll see your design on there. So I did some over there. I'm going to create some balance by doing some over here on this opposite side. So I have balance. So this time I'm going to go down here. I'm blotting and get paint, blot some off. You don't want it too thick or it'll just kind of glop up and then it could kind of get under your stencil and you may lose your pattern. If your stencil does not turn out perfect, little stars are perfect, whatever you're stenciling, it's okay. This is just our background and it's supposed to be loose and fun and kind of funky, so it's fine. All right, I'm just going to do that much. I'm going to lift my stencil straight up and you see my stencil there. Okay, now I'm going to show you about doing some stamping. So I'm going to use this bubble wrap, and I'm going to, I think I'll do it, I may make some blue-green. I may take some of this blue and some of this green and mix it and make a blue-green color. Or you can just use it right out of the tube, whatever. And then I'm just going to paint that on part of my bubble wrap. Set my brush down. And I'm just going to stamp it. So turn it over, lay it down, don't slide it around, just kind of press it down, lift it straight up, and you see I have those little dots. And do some over here again. Get some paint. You don't need a wet brush for this either. You don't want the paint real wet. It's wet enough right out of the bottle. And I'll do another one like down here. Press it real gently. You don't want to pop the bubbles. Like that. Okay. So another thing that's fun to do is you can get an old glue stick bottle and you can make some stamps. I would love for you teachers to just find things around your classroom that would be great for stamping. There's so many things. And I'm just going to dip it in my paint and make these circles. And they're kind of turning out funky and not all the same, and I love that. So just all over your paper, doing different stamps, different textures, be creative and see what you can come up with. All right, when you're finished with that, you're going to need to make sure your name's on the back of it, and it's going to need to go on your drying rack to dry. And so I'm going to pull one over that I've already done. It's dry already. You see where I used some different colors on it. I used some of the fluorescent red. And so it really pops on there, and I made some blue violet for my dots. So that'll be dry, and we're going to use that as our background here in just a few minutes. But the next step will be to draw our blue dog. So you're going to take a piece of black construction paper, and you're going to need a white or a light colored pencil so it will show up. So you can use white or maybe yellow or even like a light blue or light green to draw your blue dog. And so our blue dog is going to be big. He's the emphasis of this piece of artwork. We want him to be big, so you're going to need to fill your page with your blue dog. Blue dogs shouldn't be really teeny tiny on here. If blue dog's teeny tiny, you need to flip it over and do it over. But I'm going to go through the steps of drawing blue dog. Okay, so this is about the center of my paper, okay? So I'm not going all the way to the top. I'm going to come down some, and I'm going to make these zigzag lines. This is for the top of his muzzle, okay? So just a few little zigzag lines, and then this is going to be his muzzle. So we're going to come down, we're going to go around, kind of up like this, and I'm repeating the same way and go back up, okay? So it's in the middle of our paper. We've got some room at the bottom, we've got some room at the top. Maybe about 4 finger spaces of an adult hand from the top and the bottom. All right, in the center, I'm going to make his nose. It's kind of a square but roundish shape. And I'll put 2 little nostrils. And then the bottom of his mouth curves like this. Now, blue dog's eyes are really easy. They're just circles. So kind of in this area where it's kind of goes in to the side of his muzzle, I'm not going any higher. I'm going to make a circle and another circle that's about the same size, and then I'll make a pupil in the middle, and I may even give him little eyebrows. Now, blue dog had really big pointy ears. I have a German Shepherd, and she's got really big pointy ears, and he emphasized that in his work. So at the top, this will be the top of blue dog's head. So we'll about start where one of the eyes is on one side and go to the other with kind of a line that kind of curves, and then it stops where the eyes are. Do you see how it lines up with the eyes? And then I'm going to make these 2 ears that go all the way to the corner of the page. That's how you're going to know that your blue dog is big enough. So I'm going to make a kind of a curvy triangle here, and then it's going to go all the way down to the middle of the muzzle. Okay? Let's do the same thing here. I'm going to come up. I'm going to go all the way to the corner of the page. Then we'll come down to the middle of the muzzle. You can also go in and give some triangles for the openings of blue dog's ear. And then we're just going to make his body. So out from the muzzle just a little bit where that ear came down, you can make a line that kind of goes straight down and out. It kind of went out just a little bit because his body gets bigger. And the same thing here, it goes out just a little bit. And that is so simple. That's our blue dog drawing. But now we're going to go in and add some color. And we're going to use oil pastels to do that. Oil pastels show up really, really good on white paper. So to do our blue dog, you get to decide what color you want blue dog to be. That's why we say he's not necessarily blue dog. He can be any color, and we're going to layer our oil pastels, okay? We're going to layer our oil pastels. One thing is, I'm going to make my muzzle, though, white. Blue dog's muzzle was white, and I'm going to make my blue dog's muzzle white. So I'm going to color this in, and I'm going to leave a little edge around where I did my oil pastel, because what we're going to do later is we're going to come back with a black and outline everything. So I'm going to kind of, do you see how I'm kind of just leaving a little edge around that where I did my colored pencil? And that'll kind of show me later where I can make my outlines. And then I'm just going to color that in with my oil pastel. Be thinking about what color do you want your blue dog to be. And you've got this really beautiful pack of oil pastels with all these different colors, and there's many shades. Like if you chose orange, there's different shades of orange, so you don't have to just use one. It looks best if you use many. And I'm also going to make his little mouth down here, the bottom of his mouth. I'm going to make that white. And I'm going to leave this part black because that's going to be like the inside opening of his mouth. I think I'll go ahead and do his eyes. Now, you can do your blue dog whatever color eyes you want. So on this one, my blue dog's got lots of yellows and kind of oranges, so I didn't want to make yellow eyes because there would be no contrast. It wouldn't stand out. So I knew that a cool color would really contrast with the warm color of blue dog. So I made his eyes blue. So I think I'm going to do that again. I'm going to go in with a light blue. Remember that pupil is black, so we're going to leave that. So I'm going to do this blue, but then I'm going to do different shades of blue and layer. It's so important that we layer these oil pastels. So around the edge, I'm going to take a darker blue. And if your oil pastels start to get dirty, which they will, and colors will get mixed up, you take a paper towel and you just clean it off. Super easy, okay? Now I'm going to go in and start coloring in my blue dog. I'm going to make him yellow. So I'm just going to start going around. I'm leaving a little edge between my shapes because remember how I said we're going to outline with black? So do you see how I'm leaving just a little gap there? Just a little gap. You can even go in and outline it if you want to, like this. And that might help you leave that little gap. And then I'm just going to start coloring. But remember, we are layering. Teachers, remind your students it's not just one layer of color. Oil pastels look best when they have been layered. Go around my triangle ear shape. And I'm going to do a little bit more, but I'm not going to color the whole thing to save a little time because you'll get the hang of it and you'll see what I'm doing here. I'm just going to color like half of it. How about that? You would go ahead and finish your whole yellow on here. But now remember, we're going to do some layering. So I'm going to find another yellowish color that's very similar, but a different shade. This is actually a yellow orange. The paper was to the end, so I need to tear some of that paper off. Do that over here to the side. If your oil pastels break, it's okay. So see? So I'm going to go around and start kind of putting in some of that yellow orange over it. You have to kind of press down to get it to show up, but it starts filling in a lot of those gaps where the black was showing through. And I can tell this is like a light yellow orange. I can tell I'm going to need like a darker to really stand out. And I think I'm going to use that and go around the edges. So let me look in my box, and I have this little fragment of a red orange, and I think that will blend nicely. So I'm going to kind of go around these edges and go in just a little bit with that and kind of have my edges be a little darker. Then I need some highlights. So I'm going to find either a white, or I really like this really pale creamy color. And I'm going to go in kind of in the center and around some areas, and look how that kind of gives it some highlight. And you'll have places where it kind of clumps up and gets gross. You can just take your paper over to the side. I'm going to show you here though, and tap it, and a lot of it will come off. If you kind of do like that, you have to be careful to not smudge it everywhere. But yeah, I'm just going to go in with my highlights, and I think I've got enough layers now. Looks pretty good. Okay. You can also go back and do a little more layering if you want in the muzzle. I'm going to go with that really light color, so it's still going to look white, but it's going to have an extra layer. And I don't know if you can tell, that really does make it look better. It closes up some of those gaps where your black was showing through. It's okay if the black shows through some, but it just kind of helps it. Okay, I like that. All right, so we're just going to pretend like that's finished, the whole thing. And kind of go over here and shake some of that little pieces off like that. Okay, now I'm going to get my black oil pastel, and I'm going to start outlining. So I'm going to go in the places that I want to be black, like the pupils, like the nose. Everywhere that you've left black, you need to go in and color it black, because it's an even richer black than your construction paper, and it'll show up better. Now, you can do the inside of your ears whatever color. I'm just going to do black, but you could do a different color. And then you're going to just go in and start outlining all those places where you left a gap. So that would be around the whole blue dog. Everything is going to be that you once drew in colored pencil is now going to be outlined. You must do this step for it to really look complete and finished. So teachers, don't forget to get the students to do this outlining step, outlining the eyes, outlining the eyebrow, outlining the edge of your blue dog. And to get it to really go, you sometimes have to, when you're outlining, you have to kind of color almost to really get it good and heavy and strong. And that's going to make him really stand out. Okay, so once you get that all finished, the next step will be to cut your blue dog out. And I'm going to show you this one. I'm not going to cut him. I am going to show you real quick, though. When you're cutting blue dog out, cut around your black edge. So that black edge, you see it around the edge of the outside of blue dog, okay? Or whatever color dog you've got. See how when I cut that out, I can still see that black edge. Okay, so then you're just going to cut him out, and then you get to glue him on wherever you want. I kind of made mine go over to the side a little bit. You may want to put your smack dab in the middle. You may want to put it to this side. Whatever you do, have it go all the way to the bottom, though, because his body is just going to run off the page. You wouldn't want just half of his body floating around on there. So I cannot wait to see what these look like. I would recommend using Elmer's school glue to glue these down. It's going to hold better than a glue stick. So I can't wait to see what you do. I'm going to put these on Artsonia, and some may get in the art show. So I'll see you next time. Bye.